I've heard about this Cuban pitcher that was coming out of high school in Tampa, and I was just like, oh, okay, Marlins are going to the heritage of Miami and drafting a Cuban player. I mean, up to that point, we had very little Cuban players to begin with in our franchise. It was mostly Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, every race under the sun, with the exception of maybe Alex Fernandez and Livan Hernandez in '97. To me, it felt like the Marlins were getting Livan Hernandez version 2.
Well, when the Marlins drafted Jose, I didn't really know much about him. I remember the Marlins were playing, I believe, the Phillies. It was like towards the end, like towards latter part of the season. And I remember flipping over to MLB Network just to see who they picked, to see what he looked like. And they made a big deal about him. They made a big deal about this kid from Cuba who came from Tampa, and he's supposedly this great pitcher, and he had this A+ talent, and then eventually wound up seeing in the major leagues not too long after that.
So a couple of years ago, I was auditioning for the MLB Fan Cave, and at that time, Jose Fernandez got spring training invites to play with the Marlins. And his first day on the field, he pegged Giancarlo Stanton in the head. And I just sat there, I was like, man, this kid is not ready to come up, man. He can throw a 97-mile-per-hour fastball, and his defector is amazing, but he has massive control issues. I was like, but we got to keep an eye on this kid. I mean, 14th overall pick in Major League Baseball's draft. So I was like, all right, let's keep an eye on him. And then next thing I know, he's in the majors.
The only player that I can think of that performed that young, in a Marlins jersey at least, is maybe Miguel Cabrera when he played for us in 2003 in the World Series. But outside of that, as far as pitchers go, no.
You heard about him first. They had a kid down there in A-ball that was like 14-2 the year before. He threw 98, 99 miles an hour with a hook and a changeup. So you're like, all right, so it's his first big league camp, I believe. I'm not positive on that. And we were in live BP. That's when your pitchers pitch against you, and I got in his group that he was pitching against. And I was like, all right, let me see what this kid about. And he threw the first one about 94, the next one about 97, and threw a hammer. I'm like, this kid is pretty good. So that was my first reaction, was like, this kid is pretty good. But I think he was pegged to go to like AA that year, and we were getting on the bus to go to opening day. We were doing an exhibition game, and we were on the bus, and he just shows up on the bus. Everyone's like, man, what are you doing here? He's like, hey, the owner called me, said I made the team. So he was excited, and that was my first interaction in talking to him. He was just a young guy, ready, eager to learn, full of life, great baseball player, but you could tell he had that energy that the team rallied around.
Have you ever seen a pitcher, that young, progress through the system that quickly?
A pitcher, no, but we did have Miguel Cabrera. I mean, you do the parallels between the Miguel Cabrera career and the Jose Fernandez career, where Miguel Cabrera went up to AA, and then at the age of 20, his first game, he hits a walk-off home run for the Marlins. Then you have Jose Fernandez, who only played with the Jupiter Hammerheads, comes up and pitches a 1-0 losing effort with 8 strikeouts in a game. I mean, they're very parallel to each other, and the Marlins' history and franchise tends to have things like that, where we need to rush players who aren't ready. But Jose is a massive exception to that. He was ready to go day one.
Greatest Marlins pitchers, he's definitely at least top 3. You got to put him in the top 3. You got to put him in there with the Beckett's of the world, Dontrelle Willis, Josh Johnson. He's on that level with those guys. Maybe in terms of pure stuff, in terms of his pure pitches, maybe the best out of all of them. He probably had the most natural talent out of all those guys I named.
Deliberation. I was nervous when they shot at me. I won't be nervous facing David Wright. Fly ball right field. Hit pretty well. Stanton back. Shy of the track. Makes the catch. 1-2-3 inning for Jose Fernandez in his major league debut as he...
My emotions kind of changed as the game progressed. When he first came out, it was, oh great, we have this pitcher who's coming in as a spot start, who's never pitched higher than single-A, and pegged Giancarlo Stanton in the head his first time in a spring training practice. It's like, this is going to be bad. We're going to lose to the Mets 15-0. He's going to have 2 innings. I've never been happier to be more wrong, because he was just lights out. I just kind of wish the offense, helped him out.
So he has now established a new club record by a rookie.
confidence boost, though, when you're able to strike out guys like David Wright and go through a lineup with big league hitters? You knew you could do it at the Class A level, but this is the major leagues, and you just picked up right where you left off.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to go out there and, you know, make good pitches, and to David Wright, I made some good pitches, so that was the plan.
Felt like a festival, a typical Hispanic fiesta, that you have this kid countless times trying to get into the United States. The same way that a lot of the people in Little Havana try to get there. Floating over from Cuba to have the American dream, a fresh start, being able to succeed, because that's what everybody wants when they come here. And 20-year-old kid, he's the same age as almost every grandparent's grandson or granddaughter that's there. Every parent who's had this plight, the same plight he has. It was good to see someone who is as successful as him be there, going through the same thing that a good amount of people in Miami have gone through, or that my parents did the same thing where they came here back in the 60s when Fidel Castro took over. It was to hear those stories of the plight, and then finally see, like, hey man, if this guy can make it, there's hope for anybody from that island can make it.
Jose Day, what was so special about it was when he pitched, you know, a lot of things that were negative about the Marlins, for at least that day, went away, it seemed, because for one, Jose was a great pitcher, obviously one of the best in baseball. And on top of that, he played baseball with that pure joy you kind of see like kids on these Little League fields play behind me. Like, he had that kind of a joy when he played baseball. So when you watched him play, it was almost like baseball became a little bit more pure again. And I think that's what made it so special to me.
There's a lot of factors that could be taken into it. It's like when Jose comes in, almost guaranteed win. Guaranteed, especially at that time when he was breaking the MLB record for most consecutive home starts without a loss. You wanted to see this kid succeed. And yes, it takes into account that, again, a Cuban immigrant who's coming to this country and making something of himself, especially in Little Havana. It's magical to sit there and see that this guy could have been my brother, or could have been my grandson, or could have been anybody who's actually tried to succeed in this world, coming from such a terrible regime.
Creo que la conexión con los latinos en general, no con los cubanos solamente, fue quien lo hizo tan popular.
He wins Rookie of the Year. All this being 21 years of age. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I mean, in baseball, in Major League Baseball, the whole landscape of it. I mean, has there been anyone else that young to do something of that nature?
In the culture of baseball today, it's very difficult to do that because you do a lot of growing. You don't want to just rush people out there. I mean, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, you can see 20-year-old pitchers coming up because the farm system isn't what it is now. I mean, with the way technology is and how players are playing and how things are getting faster, stronger, bigger, better, it's better to draw out the time in the minors to make them sure that they're ready to go, that when they step on that mound, they're good to go. In any other team, Jose Fernandez probably would not have started. But that season, that 2013 season, was something magical, that all those stars aligned in the right place. Everything that needed to happen happened for Jose to come up and show that he belongs in baseball.
Excited. Throw the bullpen tomorrow, lefty, so excited. Now, I mean, no pain, so fine.
And everything went as planned as far as the surgery?
That's what the doctor said. I said they really went, incredible. He was really happy the way it came out, so just happy to be back here.
So one day, me and my wife are driving to go to work, and I'm listening to my Sirius XM, and the guys on there's like, the Marlins season is done, their ace pitcher is over, it's fire sale, just get rid of the entire team, do what the Marlins do, it's over, this team is going to fail. Well, at the same time, I was trying to get on the MLB fan cave, and it's one of those, you need to do something to stick out, you need something to draw attention to yourself. And I just was like, I really need to do something. I need to show the solidarity, the unity of the Marlin family. It's that when one person goes down, the rest of the team gladly steps up and will pick up the slack. Hindsight, I was completely and utterly wrong about picking up the slack, but hey, baseball, you can't win a championship every year. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I grow my hair out? I mean, I know I'm a little balding up here, but when this all gets out and when this gets long, it's something to look at. I look like a completely different person from my goatee shaved head to, as everyone has put it, a homeless bum. And I was like, all right, I have a YouTube channel that I did all my MLB Fan Cave stuff for. Let me just put it on there. If people watch it, yay. If people don't watch it, whatever. And people watched it, so... At first, the media attention was very local. Like, a lot of the Miami news stations picked me up. Oh, look at this kid. Look at that.
The first home game since star pitcher Jose Fernandez's season-ending injury. One diehard fan making quite a pledge to encourage recovery.
From this moment on, I'm not going to cut my hair or shave my face until he's back pitching for the Miami Marlins.
There you go, you heard him say it. Andy Salgado won't be shaving his head or face until the Rookie of the Year returns to the field. Fernandez had Tommy John surgery last week. Usually takes about 12 to 18 months to recover from. Man, as a true fan, now we got to follow his progression, especially 12 to 15 months from now. We should all do that together.
And to the grace of social media, that's when things, as people started seeing I'm being more serious with this. I'm not really, oh, I'm just doing this for a 2-minute attention and then I'm cutting it all off when people don't look because everyone's going to forget about me. When I started hitting month 5 is when MLB Network contacted me.
Right-hander is nursed back to full health, and that's not the only extreme measure that Andres has taken.
What else is he doing?
His team. Andres, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on Hot Stove.
Hey, good morning.
The hair is back. What's up?
Yeah, the hair's back. Jose hasn't come back, so the hair got to come back.
All right, well, something else has filled in addition to your hair, and that's the beard. What's the latest challenge that you've given yourself in regards to Jose Fernandez's health?
Well, the beard and the hair went on the same video. If you guys continued watching the video, I actually do the movie magic thing as well and shave the goatee and the 5 o'clock shadow I had. So the hair on my head and the hair on my beard are going to keep growing until Jose comes back.
Here's the next question for you. Are you allowed within 100 yards of the school?
Well, I got to kind of pick up my niece, so I hope so.
ESPN contacted me. Radio stations all through Florida contacted me. Newspapers in West Palm Beach, New York, Miami contacted me. A baseball channel in Japan contacted me. So it's one of those that people knew who I was because it's like, okay, he's really doing this. Me and the wife went to go watch the Dodgers Marlins in LA. JT Realmuto's aunt stopped me and went, "You're the Jose guy." And I was like, "Yeah, hi, nice to meet you. I'm glad to meet a fan." She's like, "Oh, my nephew talks about you." I'm like, "Who's your nephew?" He's like, "JT Realmuto." I was like, "Wait a minute." Your nephew is JT, the catcher of the Miami. Is like, "Yeah, they talk about you behind the scenes." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." Fans going, "Wait, are you the Jose guy?" It's like, the attention to me was great because it was bringing light that you hear the joke constantly. There is no such thing as a real Marlin fan. And I proved that completely wrong, that there is not just me, but other people joined in. Other people had their own little things that they were doing that they wanted. It's like, if this guy can do it, I can prove I'm a Marlin fan. I mean, you sit there and you go to the Jose Hero section, that little section's a gigantic family. They all love each other. I mean, the Marlins started coining the term #Marlin family, fish family. It started catching on and it just showed that, yeah, our star is down, but us as fans and players will gladly pick up the slack. So after month 3, the Marlins actually got a contact with me and they wanted me to come down and talk to them to see if I was a legit person and we were doing this for real or I was just joking around. And so I got to talk to all the social media departments and the digital media department, got to meet Jeffrey Loria, and they sat there as like, all right, if you are going to do this, we are going to back you 110%. And so the day came where they're like, Jose is coming back July 2nd. You have a month to come up with an idea that is going to surpass everything you've done from here on out. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I like to think I'm a creative guy. I mean, I made 14 videos of me just growing out my hair, so somehow, some way, I think I'm creative. So I came up with the idea, well, you guys have the barber to the baseball player's juice literally downstairs. Why don't we, when Jose throws out the first pitch, he cuts my hair right there in the Jose Hero section. I presented my idea, I presented what I wanted to do, and then somebody in that room just stood up and went, how do you feel if Jose cuts your hair? I laughed because I'm like, well, he can't cut my hair before the game starts because you don't want to mess with the pitcher's routine, and he's not going to cut my hair after the game because they have to hop on a plane and go play the Mets. I was like, well, you know, I like my plan, and then he just pipes up, was like, okay, let's rephrase that. Jose wants to cut your hair. Who might argue with that? So when they figured it out, it's like, okay, so Jose and Juice are going to cut your hair on July 1st. What can we do to make it even more spectacle? I sat there, I was like, well, why don't we auction off the opportunity to cut my hair, meet Jose Fernandez, meet Juice, go to the game where Jose comes back, and get to be part of this media circus. And they're like, oh, that's good, we'll go through the Marlins Foundation. That's when I chimed in. It's like, well, I do a lot of work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation up in Orlando. Is there any way we could donate the money from the auction to the Make-A-Wish Foundation? And they were absolutely on board with it. I actually got to meet Jose Fernandez a few times before that. The most memorable one, and the one that everyone seems to talk about, is the picture that got posted after we met at the Fan Fest, where it's me and him taking a selfie together. And I didn't want to bother him. I'm the type of person that, you're a star. I deal with movie star, television stars on a daily basis at some of my jobs. So I know, back off, let them be them. And there's a line of people that want to talk to Jose Fernandez. So I'm going to let him be him. So as I was walking by, out of the corner of my eye, I see this. I'm like, wait, does he know who I am? I mean, okay, let me get in line. If he goes away, no harm, no foul. The entire time I'm in line, he's talking to the guy, looks over to where I'm at. Talking to the next fan, looks over where I'm at. Finally, I get to the front of the line, and before I even get up to say anything to him, he's like, dude, I'm trying to get back as fast as I can. Trust me, we want you to look a lot cleaner. And I was like, man, don't worry about it. It's just hair grows back. I just want you to come back. All these fans behind me want you to come back 100% healthy. We want to see you on that Mount of Gay. He's like, I'm trying. You got to trust the process, but we need to clean that up. I was like, the time will come, man. Just get better. And took the selfie, joked with me, and I walked off. And ever since then, he used to do autographs after games and even before games. And every time he walked by, I'd be like, Jose guy. I'm like, Jose. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm leaving back for Orlando in 2 hours. Like, well, you drive safe. I was like, thanks, man. So we always had that interaction when he was signing autographs with fans. The original dialogue was, wow, there's a lot of media people here. And his response to that was, I promise I won't cut you. Okay, Juice? No, don't worry, Andy, we will make sure Jose doesn't cut you. I'm like, oh, okay, put a little guard on it, I mean, be safe. So we just had that little fun banter. The best banter of that entire day was between him and my mother, because my mom wanted to go see it. And again, my mother coming here after the Fidel Castro takeover in 1960, he sits there and Jose cut my hair where I looked like a skinny Hulk Hogan, where it was just the side and completely bald. And Jose and Juice were joking because then they were going to go work on the beard and leave the hair like that just to be fun, because that's what the auction was. You get to decide with Jose what hairstyle you give me. And he goes, no, we're going to leave it like that. And in the back of the bullpen, you hear, no! Corta ese pelo! And everyone, like all the media people stop, Jose stops, Juice stops, everyone stops and looks. And it's my mother. And everyone's just silent. You just hear Jose go, you know what, she's a Cuban mother. I don't mess with Cuban mothers. Bzz, and just started cutting off the rest. So when Juice was cleaning me up, Jose walked over to my mom and goes, oh, so you're Andy's mother? And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like him having that much hair. And he sits there and goes, don't worry. Anytime I show up to my grandmother's house, he had the little man bun, and his grandmother would always go, when are you cut? Don't ever come to my house again until you cut that. And he'd be like, yes, I will. I promise I will. I will do it. I will. And his abuela was pretty much his mother's, the one who raised them. So that interaction between them, to see two Cubans who left a terrible regime and to make something of themselves. I mean, my mom is successful in what she does. Jose is successful in what he does. It shows that as long as you have that connection with that, no matter what generation you're in, you could have, it's there. And that's the epitome of what Jose did with the city of Miami. In all honesty, words cannot describe it, because Jose, all in his own, is his own character. I remember when I had the interview with MLB Central, literally the day before I got my hair cut, I'm sitting there talking to the executive producers as they're setting everything up, and they were like, hey, thank you for doing this, we appreciate it. We really, just be yourself, be how you do your videos. And I was like, oh, okay, that's no problem. I was like, yeah, when we heard it was for someone like Jose Fernandez, we love his interviews. He just brings an energy to a team, a city, an area, an interview. He just looked like he was always having fun. And it's some exec in New York that's probably never been face-to-face, talked to Jose or heard his story, and it's like, if we could have him on every day, we would.
What I remember, it was probably his, like, from the first inning until he came out the game, it was definitely just really, really sharp. The best game for me that I remember when he pitched, I saw him pitch a couple times his rookie season, and I just remember, like, he got a couple no decisions when I went to see him pitch, but just his stuff was always electric, like the fastball. He always had a good command of his fastball and his off-speed pitches. But in terms of that game right there, I remember, I think it was Jose himself who actually said that was the best game he ever pitched. And then
I was actually driving from Orlando to Miami, and I always listen to Marlins radio when I'm doing that drive. It's a 3.5-hour drive. You've recently just made that drive. So I'm sitting there listening to this game, and I'm just like, man, I really wish I was there. But, you know, I'm going to go see his last start of the season, because they already announced at that time that his last start was going to be the end of that week. So I'm like, all right, let me go down. It's also the Ichiro giveaways. They had a bunch of nice giveaways that week, and I'm going to go down. So I'm listening to this game. I'm just like, man, he has it. He really is showing that he does belong, that after Tommy John surgery, a year later, still pitching in the 100 fastballs. It's against the Nationals, the team that has owned the NL East for the past 6, 7, 8 years. It's one of those that's like, if you could do this against them, man, I can't wait to your last start, because his last start in 2013, that game against the Braves, that home run, that shutout game he had, it was just magical. I was like, awesome, I'm going to be able to go down there and actually get to see his last game of 2016.
Fastball on his last foul ball. Stay up in the zone right here. You can't catch up to 97, 98 up there.
Broken back, Gordon's got it. Jose, terrific.
Good changeup, very good changeup.
8 shutout innings, a dozen strikeouts, and he works out of trouble and gets his biggest outs here in the 8th.
So I was in my parents' house, and my mom wakes me up at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and she's like, Jose's dead. And my first reaction wasn't, oh my gosh, Jose Fernandez is dead. My first reaction is, which Jose? Primo Jose, Tío Jose, Abuelo Jose. Is like, sorry, I'm a Hispanic family. You got to be a little more specific. Which Jose? And she goes, Fernandez. Before I could get a word out of my mouth, my phone just started ringing nonstop. Friends, family, media, everyone's trying to contact me to see if it's true that that this guy on this boat is Jose Fernandez. It's South Florida. There's who knows how many Jose Fernandez. And first thing I do is I turn on the TV and every news station is playing that it's Jose Fernandez, Miami Marlins pitcher.
Breaking news happening right now. One of the top pitchers in baseball has died in a boating crash. The Coast Guard telling News Channel 8 Miami Marlins ace Jose Fernandez was one of 3 people killed off Miami Beach early this morning.
Now to the tragic loss of rising baseball star Jose Fernandez, the Miami Marlins pitcher whose story of perseverance and triumph inspired so many, tragically killed in a boating accident.
It became real to me is that when some of these news media outlets started posting the Shave the Date Jose guy, him cutting my hair pictures, like, oh, this is real. This is not some bad dream. This is not a nightmare. It's Jose's gone.
It was roughly around 7:50, 8 a.m. My friend woke me up. He's a big Chicago Cubs fan, so he jokes around me a lot sometimes too much. So I thought on this particular day he was joking with me. He said Jose Fernandez got in a boat accident. And I'm like, man, I don't got time for your problems, or for your jokes. I don't got time for your jokes. And basically, he's like, nah, man, it really happened. And then I said, nah, it's a joke. Stop playing these jokes with me. So then eventually he turns on the TV. It's on Channel 4 already, and I just hear the people on the news saying, well, Jose Fernandez got into a boat accident and he passed away this morning. So then I'm like, no, this is not real. So then I go to Channel 7. They had the same thing. Channel 10, same thing. Go to ESPN, same thing.
We begin with Jose Fernandez killed along with 2 friends in a boating accident early this morning in Miami Beach.
Some sad news coming out of Miami this weekend. The ace pitcher for the Miami Marlins passed away in a boating accident. Jose Fernandez, a defector from Cuba, was one of 3 people found dead.
Confirmed multiple reports that Miami Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez has been killed in a boating accident which happened in the early hours on Sunday. Buster, thank you for being with us. What more can you tell us about this terrible tragedy?
And it was almost just like I was more in disbelief than anything. It didn't really hit me till probably the next day when you saw D. Gordon on the mound, looking at the number 16 engraved behind the mound, and that's when it really hit me. That's when I knew Jose was gone, and it was just really sad for a guy that young who really wasn't even in his prime. Tremendous pitcher to lose his life that young, and then his wife was set to have a kid. So it's just all around it was really heartbreaking, emotional, and I almost felt like just with Jose, the way he played baseball, I admired the way he played the game. It almost felt like the connection he had with the fans and with me as well, that I lost kind of like a distant relative. That's what it felt like.
It was a horrible day. First thing in the morning, I was actually in this room, and believe it or not, it was the Sunday was the Ichiro Day at Marlins Park. They were honouring Ichiro for 3,000 hits, and I was lucky enough to have painted Ichiro, and the Marlins were using my artwork as a giveaway poster during the game. And so first thing on Sunday morning, I was looking forward to going to the Marlins Park and helping give away 20,000 posters of Ichiro. And I came in here and I went online and big headline. And my wife is a huge fan of Jose. And first of all, I was like, I kind of wanted to be the one that I wanted to tell her rather than she just go online and find it herself. So I kind of prepared her. I went and got her in the hallway and said to her, I want to show you something, just to kind of prepare for bad news. And when she came in, it was very emotional. We were in shock. It didn't seem real. And like everyone else within the community, we showed our respects and love for the man. It was a very, very sad day. I mean, you just couldn't keep away from the news. You almost wanted to be told, it was made up. It just didn't seem real. It was very sad, and you were glued to the news. And I don't think you really spoke that much. Because the Marlins did the press conference, and that was incredibly sad and incredibly tough for everybody who was close to Jose. And I'm sure there's a million stories just like this.
couldn't believe it. I saw it on ESPN. You know, ESPN is pretty legit, but I wasn't for sure when I made the phone calls and did it, because the ironic thing was I was just at the stadium the night before, and it's probably about 4 or 5 hours before he had probably actually died. And I remember he was the last guy that I talked to leaving the clubhouse, because I never stayed for the games. I would leave. And I said, Jose, man, you all right, man? He said, yeah, I'm good. I said, now be calm, man, be cool, because I knew he was going to pitch, I think, on Monday. But he was a little jittery and hyper, more so than normal. So I told him, hey, calm. I told him, as I was leaving the club, I was like, Jose, man, just take it easy, be calm, man. He said, okay, Juan, I got you. And that was the last thing, you know, I heard from him. And when I heard the news, I just couldn't believe it, heartbroken. Still just thinking about it. Still heartbroken, because he was just full of life, man. He was just hitting his stride. He worked his butt off to come back from the Tommy John surgery, and that's the least of his problem when you think about how he got here from Cuba and the 2 or 3 attempts he had to get here. But just hard to believe a guy that young had an impact, you know, on the community of Miami, as well as especially the Latins around the world.
I woke up, we were in Minnesota, and my wife, so the first text message I received was, babe, I'm so sorry. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, did something happen to like our daughters? Like, what's going on? And I called her and she told me, and I just started bawling my eyes out. And no one on the team really knew Jose that much, so I tried to, you know, I don't know if anyone heard the news or not, it was early. So I tried to keep my cool on the bus, but it was impossible. I mean, this is a really emotional day, probably one of the hardest days I've ever had to pitch in a ball game. And just following the news and hearing what happened is just so sad.
From the moment my mom woke me up and then turning on the TV, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I was hoping that somewhere someone would be like, no, it's not this Jose Fernandez. He's at home sleeping because he's pitching tomorrow. It wasn't his boat. It's another boat that looks like his boat. Just anything, anything. And then when I got the tweet from the Marlins going that today's game is canceled, it was real. It was absolutely 100% real. And I just wanted to go home. Just wanted to hop in my car and go. I'm not gonna lie, I just wanted to run. I wanted to go home. I mean, here's this kid that has been nothing but nice to me. You have every right to, oh my gosh, there's this creepy 30-year-old man not wanting to cut his hair for a 20-year-old kid. That's wrong, but he never did that with me. He always seemed respectful and laughing, having fun with the whole Jose guy thing. But something somewhere told me, it's like, no, you gotta get to Marlin Park. Go to Marlin Park. And as I'm driving from Davie to Marlin Park, I'm like, there's no one gonna be there. Nothing's gonna, I'm literally gonna be in an empty stadium. So when I parked my car and I saw a plethora of the Marlin family, the Fish family, there mourning the loss of Jose Fernandez, the screen saying in memory of number 16, the Marlins and front office having a press conference to officially announce that yes, that's Jose Fernandez, to see the people that are behind the scenes, not the ones that you don't hear of, the concessions, the people running the events, the people that have known Jose Fernandez since he was drafted, and see him just leaving crying, bawling, people whose their kids grew up playing with Jose Fernandez at Marlin Park. It sucked. It absolutely, completely, and utterly sucked. And to just have cameras in your face asking you how you feel, it's just like, give us a moment to just relax. Give us a moment to console the people that are here mourning this loss. Give us a moment to explain to his children, his fans that are children, that they're never going to see their favorite pitcher pitch again, and try to break it down to them. And it's just, that's what that Marlin family was. That's what that day was. It was, we're here, we're gonna miss you, we love you, let's come together and try to support each other, because we lost a good one.
The vibe and emotions through all of South Florida when Jose Fernandez passed away, it was kind of like I said earlier, like it was almost like losing a kind of a relative, because Jose Fernandez, the Marlins play in Little Havana, it's a very big Cuban population there. Jose Fernandez kind of represents that hope that a lot of Cubans have when they come to America, when they come to Miami, when they come to South Florida. And he kind of just embodied that playing, in that area. So the vibe was simply like, it was just sad. It was really depressing around South Florida, because there's been so many negative things associated with the Marlins over the last couple of years, but Jose kind of was able to cut through all that. And people, it didn't even matter if you were a Marlins fan, people who were fans of other teams would still want to see this guy pitch, because for one, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball, and two, he played the game with that pure spirit that kids play the game with. And when you see that, it kind of makes baseball more fun, and you realize that it is just a game. It's not just a business, as players say. It is a game, a kid's game.
If it was me, if I literally hopped on a makeshift boat and traveled the 90 miles to freedom, you would never see me on a boat ever again. Ever. I'd be like, nope, I'm moving to Kansas, because there is no ocean in Kansas. But you would hear stories of him, how much he loved the water, that someone told me that when he jumped in and saved his mom, not knowing that it was his mom, that it was a rebirth for him, that this is a new life for Jose Fernandez here in the United States. And he was just always wanted to be on the water. Bad game, get on the boat, go to the water. Day off, get on the boat and go on the water. Stubbed his toe, get on the boat and go out on the water. He just loved the water, and I mean, it's what gave him his opportunity here, and it's what took away his life. I'm not gonna lie, I lost it. For me, because I had the connection as being the Jose guy with Jose Fernandez, that I get it. Celebrities come and go all the time, and things happen that are out of our control. But for me, when I just started losing it, is when a lot of the media outlets started playing when he's his happiest, when he's pitching and the fist bump and the, yeah, I got that, the All-Star game, and him laughing as he's cutting my hair. That's who Jose was, and that outpour, it's like anytime I sat there and was watching something, I'd just see that clip of him laughing, cutting my hair, and giving me that little goofy haircut. It was just, to me, it hurt, because he was just such a good guy, not just to me, just to everyone he came in contact with, which is why baseball, the whole baseball community respected and did the whole jersey on all the lockers when the Cubs won the World Series. Aroldis Chapman having JDF 16, the Diaz, who he grew up with in Cuba, having it through his playoff run. It's just, it was the person, it wasn't the player, it was the person that gravitated, and that's what I think hurt most with a lot of people.
That was probably the most emotional I've ever felt since the Marlins won the World Series when I was 8 years old. D. Gordon, not a power hitter, comes up to the plate. He's a left-handed hitter, but he came up on the plate. He came up to hit in a right-handed stance. He kind of did like an imitation of Jose's batting stance. Took a pitch, changed his helmet, went back to hitting lefty. Next pitch, drills a home run to the upper deck, and you couldn't write a script better than that. Like D. Gordon said that he never hit a ball in batting practice that far, let alone in the game. So for him to actually do that in the very first at bat after Jose passed, it was something you could write a movie about.
Oh, I lost it. The whole him batting from the other side, I laughed. I was just like, that's something Jose Fernandez would do if he was just going to half butt. And then when he went to the other side and crushed it, he crushed it. I teared up. I cried. I don't think there was a dry eye in that stadium. I don't think there was a dry eye in that city. I don't think there was a dry eye on that when ESPN showed it, and that should have been number one on their top 10 list for here until eternity. But what really got to me after that was his tweet, was D. Gordon's tweet with that. Seeing him cry after he hit it and pointing up to Jose and seeing that tweet going, if you don't believe in a higher power, you don't believe someone's watching over you. After that, something's wrong with you, man. And it's just one of those that I'm not a very I'm more of a, I need proof for things, but seeing that, it was just like, there's something more out there.
Painting feverishly, but now you've finished the difficult part, right, Joseph? Good to see you again.
Hey, it's good to see you. Good evening.
Tell me about the painting. This is a different one this year. Each one of yours has struck an emotional nerve chord with Marlin fans. Everybody looks at it. This one in particular.
It's truly for the Marlins family and truly for a Marlins fan to appreciate this moment, and a tribute to Jose from D. Gordon. The Marlins logo, wherever, it takes care of itself, but the tribute that I wanted to capture was the eyes and the finger point, the communication between two friends and what it meant, what it means for the Marlins family. So to capture this part of the painting is truly, I'm so proud of this, and I'm so glad to be here tonight, so thank you.
D. Gordon painted, I believe, part of the batting glove, is that right?
He sure did. He painted the orange part.
What did he say to you when he looked at that?
He didn't want to mess it up, you know. He did the black, and he took the paintbrush and the paints and did his own thing, so I appreciated the confidence he had to do this. I've been blessed to be painted with the Marlins Foundation for the past 4 years, and it came to fruition because of Mr. Jeff Conine. He had seen my artwork, he had seen that I liked to help the community with artwork, and he reached out and asked if I could come and paint live 1 year, and for the past 4 years I've been able to help the Marlins Foundation raise a lot of money within this community by putting paint on the canvas. The painting I painted live first was Jose, and that one's really stood out for me amongst all the others, simply because it was the very first painting that I painted live. It was when he had the Tommy Johnson injury. It was that period, and he wasn't at the stadium that evening when I painted it live. He was watching it live on TV, and it was such an honour to be painting such an up-and-coming sports star within this community and baseball fraternity. The Jose live for the very first time 4 years ago. There was very little communication directly with Jose. It was more after the painting that we spoke about everything, but the fact that I got his how could I say, that he liked what I painted, and it did justice for him, and it did look like him, and I was happy with that to represent, you know, what he was about pitching for the Marlins, and to be able to capture that on a canvas and to get his, you know, his thumbs up was all I needed, the validation I needed. So thank you, Jose.
Unfortunately, I had to go to work the day that they had his funeral, and I was gonna call in and go down. And my job loved the whole Jose guy thing. Everyone at work loved it. I mean, not everyone was a baseball fan, not everyone got it, but they saw what I was getting from it and was so happy for it, to the point that every TV in our break room had the funeral. So when I was on break, people just were quiet and let me sit there and grieve the way I grieve, which ugly crying in front of all your coworkers is not a good idea, but, and them just being there for me and seeing, it's like, from what I saw on the television, I mean, listening to his agent talk about him, listening to Prado talk about him, listening to his grandmother talk about him, seeing the fans just line Marlins Park as he passes by, the chants, all that, it shows that for such a short time he did affect a lot of people in his life. I want to say it's gotten easier for me for the simple reason that I've immersed myself in what I like to do. When, at the age of 24, Jose accomplished so much in his life and did so much and just loved everything he did, that it got to the point that it was time for me to follow my dreams. That I'm in this situation now that I can do what I want to do, because who knows what's going to happen between when this camera turns off until I go to bed. I need to accomplish what I want to accomplish, and that's what Jose did. That's what Jose drove me to do now. So to me, getting myself into my work has really helped me cope with what's been going on.
For me personally, not really. It's for a number of reasons. Obviously, it kind of sucks because the team obviously isn't very good right now. We're struggling, so it'd be good to have that caliber of player on the team. But aside from just the player, I try not to think about it too much. You know, I mean, I moved on from it, but it's still there. Like you go to Marlins Park, you see pictures of Jose, but then you realize he's not wearing the Marlins colors anymore. So that's when it really kind of gets a bit hard, but you know, it is what it is.
I think as time went on, for order for me to take part in this documentary, it's definitely given me a chance to pay our respects to someone who I really like. And by painting Jose in this documentary, it's just my way of saying thank you to the man and let him know that I do miss him and how much he means to me and even to my family. And I hope I've done him justice by this artwork.
Did you have the chance to reach out to his family, after the passing? And if so, what was that like?
I thought about it a few times, especially hearing that he was going to have a daughter. What do you say? What do you say to a grandmother who's lost her 24-year-old grandson? What do you say to a mother who outlived her son? I mean, to me, as much as people sit there and say is like, you are a part of Jose Fernandez from here, life, and from here into the rest of your life, you're absolutely right. But I'm just such a small part. It's no place for me to say or talk or tell anything to that family, because they knew. They absolutely knew who they had in the son, and I would have loved to say something to them, but it's really not my place.
My memory of Jose that really sticks out to me is something. It was the spring training for the Marlins. It was a golf tournament for Jack McKeon for the Marlins Foundation. And I got to paint with Jose. We both put paint on a canvas and squeezed the canvas together to real like a butterfly effect. And he was so excited to have painted and made something that he ran away with one of them and it never came back. To this day I don't know whatever happened to it. I find that funny that his energy was, as soon as it was finished he was gone, and to me that's a funny story.
I had a lot of them, but the first one I remember is before his first big league start. We were in Washington playing the National. He was going to make the start in New York. And just talking to him about, man, just relax, man. He was so jittery, he was so hyped to pitch. I said, man, you're going to get a lot of starts here, just relax. And you could just tell the eagerness, but the humility behind it, like he was actually listening to me. I don't know that much about pitching, but he was just so humble and actually listened to me that, most young guys wouldn't do that, especially with his caliber. He's a first-round pick. He had all the hype, but he was a humble guy, and that was one of my first impressions of him. Like, this kid is going to be pretty good just because of how he humbles himself and he loves to play the game.
The two stories that come to my mind when it's talking about Jose Fernandez and his interactions with the fans was, so one day we're sitting there waiting for players to get out, and this little 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old boy is standing next to me, really wanting to get his baseball glove signed by Jose Fernandez. And he's talking off my ear because I think his mother or father sat there and went, oh, this is Jose's friend. This is the Jose guy. This is the guy that got his haircut from him. And he's talking my ear off. And he did this and he's doing this and Jose. And finally the kid goes, yeah, and for school I had to write a report on who my hero is. And I wrote about Jose Fernandez. And I laugh. I smirk and I was like, okay, kid, all right, hey. little 6-year-old boy writing an essay about, I don't know how school's changed now, but I just remember finger painting at that age. And here comes Jose. And he stops, and he starts at one end of the gate and starts walking all the way down, signing as he goes. And he catches my eye, and I catch his eye, and he sits there and he goes, "Hey Andy, what's up?" He's signing and talking to people and talking to me. He's like, "Hey man, oh, I'm glad you came down this weekend, man. Yeah, we're having a really good series, still coming down, talking." He's like, "Hey man, you need me to sign something for you?" He's like, No, man, I'm good. You signed my picture last week. It's perfectly okay. But this boy right here has to tell you something. That little kid's smile went ear to ear, handed Jose the glove. Jose was like, "Oh man, what do you got to tell me?" And the little boy goes, I wrote an essay about you for school. And Jose's like, "Really? What was the essay about?" I was like, "You're my hero." And he goes, "Oh man, what grade did you get?" He's like, "I got an A." He's like, "That's right, you got an A because you wrote about me. And if you didn't, I was going to ask you for your teacher's number and call her and make her change it to an A." And everyone just lost it when he said that. I started laughing. The kid's parents were just in shock that this happened. I mean, you look back at it and what are the odds of the parents recognizing me without facial hair, because I stopped growing my facial hair after I got my haircut. It's 14 months, and that's insane. And going, this is the Jose guy, him sitting there telling me the story, Jose actually stopping to sign autographs for all this happened. He was very grateful. And the kid ran to Mom and Dad, "I got his signature." I told him that. Jose was just like, "Hey, thanks for telling me that, man. Have a nice night." He's like, "You have a nice night too." And that's the type of person he was.
Yo lo vi unas cuantas veces y hablé con él. Se ve una persona bien sencilla, bien humilde. Un muchacho, creo que a seguir por futuras generaciones. Su carácter, a pesar de ser un tanto talento y tantas cosas ganadas en su corta etapa.
I would like everyone to remember Jose how I remember him. Just a guy that would always want to have fun. He's just there. It's a job that he had to do, but he was going to make the most of it and try to get as many people immersed into it and try to touch and change as many people's lives as he can, because I know he's changed my life.
The way that I want people me personally, to remember Jose Fernandez is the incredible smile. Not too many men smile, and he would constantly smile, and because of that, you're drawn towards that, and that's something that I would like people to remember. Jose is very simple. His smile.
A guy that loved people. He loved kids. He always had a heart for kids. He always would stop and play catch with them, do autographs, and he just loved life. He loved people and he loved life, man. And he, what he did, was made a mistake and pretty much cost him his life, but he was so much more than that. I think that's why the city of Miami embraced him. They had the funeral basically on TV. You know what I mean? They don't do that for everybody, but that's what he meant to the Cubans down there. To everybody, but especially the Cubans, because he was one of them. He knew how hard it was to get here, and he appreciated every moment. And he actually became an American citizen, and that was really important to him because he wanted to be American as well.
Creo que deberían recordarlo como lo que fue en realidad, la figura beisbolera que todo el mundo conocemos, el pueblo cubano, un orgullo para todos los cubanos en general.
I think people should remember Jose Fernandez, first of all, as an A-plus pitcher, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Aside from that, remember Jose Fernandez as, someone who played, like I've said many times, like someone who played that game with that little league spirit, as I like to call it. He had that purity to the game. He added that to the clubhouse. You can kind of see how that rubbed off on his teammates when he would be in the dugout with them. And, I never had a chance to meet Jose, but from the outside looking in, going to Marlins Park, I always used to see him take a lot of time out for the kids, signing autographs. He always struck me as one of those kind of players that didn't turn people down for autographs. He was someone that gave this community a lot of hope, and he was a pillar of the South Florida community. So I think people should remember him as that, and a lot of people will remember him as probably the greatest Marlins pitcher who ever lived. He's in that conversation.
I grew up with both my parents. I grew up in a loving family, and I can't even begin to imagine what this child is going to go through hearing the stories of how great of a man her father was, and not being able to live it, to sit there and watch videos of him cutting some crazy guy's hair, throwing a ball and giving a fist bump, sitting there wearing a monkey mask as Stanton's trying to give an interview on MLB Network, joking around nonstop, behind people. It's like all she's going to have is this video, and she's not going to have him there. It's, what can you say to that?
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why'd you have to leave so soon, yeah? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't really know how to tell you without feeling much worse. I know you're in a better place, but it's always gonna hurt. Carry on, give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where